Hello class. Hello class, this is Mr. Walker, and here's a brief tutorial for how to complete Lesson 5 in Unit 2 of Week 2 Distance Learning APUSH. First thing you do is be looking at the feed on the right-hand side, and we see that for Wednesday, there's only two things that are due. First is the attendance, which you can access in the white folder for that day, and then the Lesson 5 assignment template is due by 11:59 p.m. Wednesday as well. So if we go to the Lesson 5 folder and we click on the directions link, you will see this. This is a 10-point assignment. The first thing you'll do is click on this document here and make a copy of it, and then click on the settings and make it public so everyone can view it. So you're doing the same thing that you did at the start of lesson number 4, except now you're doing that for lesson 5, making a copy of this document. This document is the lesson 5 assignment template that you'll eventually submit for points. So you're making your own version of the document and making it so that I can view it. After you've made a copy of the document and changed its view settings, you have the option of completing Step 2. Step 2 is optional. It's a review of information you should have read about in Chapter 36. But if you want extra information or extra content about the topics you'll be discussing for Lesson 5 in the assignment, you should do this step. So for Step 2, the first thing that you should do if you want to do this optional step is watch the first 11 minutes of The Century, the documentary series, and it'll talk about things like the Sun Belt and migration to the suburbs and the booming economy in the United States after World War II. After watching the 11-minute clip, I encourage you then to read these 4 articles about the domestic changes in the United States after World War II. The first one's about President Truman and his policies such as the Fair Deal and his re-election campaign. And then also here's an article on the Great Migration, one on the suburbs, and one on the growth of the Sun Belt, which will be relevant topics for part of the Lesson 5 assignment. Again, this step is optional. You don't need to do it if you feel pretty good about all this content after reading Chapter 36 and doing the reading guide. But if you're feeling a little rough or if you need to circle back and review a little bit more, these are some good resources to use. After doing Step 2, Step 3 is then going to that document that you made a copy of, the Lesson 5 assignment template, and answering the 2 parts to this assignment. The Lesson 5 assignment template looks like this. So you would have made a copy of your own at this point. Part 1 is sourcing and document analysis. You will click this link here and it'll bring you to a series of documents. You're going to take 5 of the documents that are given to you and you'll do one example of document analysis or sourcing to each document. Sourcing document analysis is HIP, so that's finding historical context or finding the intended audience or finding the purpose or the point of view of the document. So you have 5 docs. You only need to do one example of HIP for each document. You can do the same example of HIP, like maybe you want to do purpose for all 5 docs, fine. Or you can mix and match. You can do a different skill for each document, or you can do like historical context for the first 3, and you can do point of view for the last 2. It's up to you. Whichever method of document analysis works the best and makes the most sense to you for that document, you should use it. When you're doing the analysis, please type your analysis in this box down here in the red font. And it's really important that if you want to get full points for this part of the activity, you need to, for each document, identify the sourcing or the document analysis, and then you need to explain the document analysis. What does that look like? Down here are 4 different templates for doing document analysis. So say you want to do historical context. You could say the historical context for document number 1 was blah, whatever that context was you want to say. So you identify the context, and then you explain it by saying the effect of this historical process or this historical context is seen on the document with blah. And you explain how that historical context is influencing what you're looking at in the graph or looking at or reading about in the speech or whatever. You're explaining this thing that you identified. Say you want to do purpose. You say the purpose of this document was blah. You identify the purpose. And then you explain that purpose by saying the author attempted to achieve this purpose by, and then you explain how they're trying to achieve that purpose. So to get full points for document analysis, you need to identify the context, the intended audience, the purpose, whatever. And then you need to explain that a little bit, either how it's influencing that document or how you can identify that thing you've identified in that document. So it's 2 parts, identify and explain. And type that in here. Second part's a little bit more straightforward. You're doing an SAQ. Here are the 3 parts of the SAQ. It's about regional migrations and comparing and contrasting regional migration patterns from different eras of U.S. history. And type your responses in here. Please type them in complete sentences and write it as if you are writing one on the AP exam. So avoid bullet points. Should be, 3 paragraphs or like 1 big paragraph. And make sure you are acing your answer to get full points for this. So for each part, A, B, and C, you need to answer the prompt in the first sentence. And then the second and third sentence for each part, you need to cite specific evidence to back up your answer and explain or expand upon your answer a little bit as well. Once you have this completed, you will then circle back to our course page. You'll click on the Lesson 5 assignment template, assignment doc right here, and then you will submit the assignment. There will be an option for you on your view. Will say upload an assignment. You'll set upload, and you can either post the hyperlink to your Google Doc. If you want to download your Google Doc into a PDF or a Word document, you can upload that file if you want to do that instead. If you printed out the document and you like wrote down answers on it yourself, you can also like take a picture of one that you wrote on. It's up to you. You can really submit it any way you want, but you need to submit it here into this location. Hopefully that makes sense. Good luck with this assignment.